I'm Alex Stone, former military service member and law enforcement officer, now CEO of Echelon Protected Services, one of the fastest growing private security firms on the West Coast. And this is Ride Along, where our guest and I witness firsthand the issues affecting our community. I believe our proven method of enacting meaningful change through compassion and understanding is the best way to make our streets a safer place and truly achieve security through community. Hey, Alex Stone, Ride Along. We kind of have a great emergency situation. We contacted a lady on a patrol with Max McKnight, our guest yesterday. She's meeting us right now. We're trying to get her into a shelter. So we're rolling out. Bach in the back, got the crew, everyone's ready to roll. Our guest today, Jim Good, hasn't arrived yet. So we're rolling out a little bit early to meet this lady. Her name is Shantae, right?
Correct.
Her name's Shantae. We're not going to give the last name, but we're hoping to get her into a shelter.
Yeah, I've got her last name, but it's not really important. The point is that she talked to us and just said, hey, I'm really, really tired. I can't be out here anymore. And she's at her breaking point.
She's been on the street for 2 years. And
maybe longer. I don't know.
Longer. I think she said at least this last stint was 2 years.
Yeah.
And so, her life matters. So we're starting on the road today.
So right now we're heading over to the agreed meeting point, which is the Blanchet House. It is a location where food is provided, 3 meals a day. Long history of doing so. It's a wonderful ministry that serves the underserved community, and they get food there regularly. Like I said, 3 squares a day. Home cooked meals, good stuff.
We're meeting up with Bach and Spencer. We're able to find Shantae, so we're going to work to get her to a shelter. So right over here, so let's
Hey.
I don't like to do it over until you're 50 because they say it doesn't last and you have to do it again. And then this would make me have to have it a third time. And every time I have surgery, I get bad infections and I've almost died. I've had MRSA twice. I've had to stay in the hospital for like 8 weeks. And, it's been going to my heart and it's been a nightmare. So I just haven't done too well. I get infected because I had like 3 blood transfusions in the annual last year, right after the result. And
Are you interested in going through like a detox rehab facility, or you just want to get inside?
I just want to get inside.
You just want to get inside. Okay. All right. Let me make a quick phone call real quick. Let me call somebody real quick.
Shanti, this is
remember
Alex.
It's good to see you.
Alex.
You want a bottle of water? Need some water?
Sure.
I can get you a cigarette too if you want. Is that going good? There we go.
Good to see you, man.
Good.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
That's for Shantae. You want a water? Yeah.
Dude, I love that shirt, bro.
How you
How you doing?
Good.
Good to see you.
You too.
How you feeling? You okay?
I'm
Banged
good.
up a little bit?
Yeah, my ankle messed up, but it's okay.
All right.
Chantel, you want some water?
Thank you so much.
No problem, anytime.
Our guest just arrived, Jim Good,
Whoa.
and we're going to have him meet us here. I got an associate of ours that kind
What
of works the back
So I was going
behind the scenes. He's going to bring Jim
to
here. So we're just going to start on the ride along
over the
today.
bridge. I ain't gonna lie.
Mine got stolen.
We can get a walker.
Hey,
Terrence,
Hey, T,
we got a
can you
walker.
run back and grab her a walker?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. You have a TPI form with you right
Not
now?
a TPI form. No, not on me.
You doing okay?
Yeah.
Oh, you just a lot of pain? What can we do that's
Where are the TPI? I mean, do we have TPI forms?
I don't have them on me. I'd have to go to a printer and print them.
I know we printed a bunch.
Yeah, I don't have any on me though.
Yeah.
I need to put some in my my jacket, but
Yeah.
I can do that. Just
So we're down here second and Gleason, and we obviously met up with Shantae, and it's going to take a little bit of time to process the paperwork and find that shelter that we can get her into, because there isn't a central data system. We can't just go online as a nonprofit or as a security company or a public entity or a private entity of any type. you can't just go online and see all the shelter beds available and all the entities and pick one and have it. There's not a central location, right, where you can do that from. You have to just keep calling shelters, and every shelter has different paperwork. They all have to be, every individual has to be screened. So this can take 30 minutes, it can take 3 hours. So that's kind of catching you up on what's going on right now. But we have our guest en route, Jim Good. He's like a de-escalation guru in this industry. He works strictly with law enforcement. He's amazing. He'll be here maybe in 5 or 10 minutes. So yeah, we'll keep it working.
Yeah, no, we're working on it right now. If I can't get her into something that's comfortable for tonight, I'm just gonna get her a hotel voucher for tonight until we can get her in tomorrow.
Yeah, I like that.
So I want to make sure she gets in and gets a good night's sleep tonight. So
Been out too long. How long have you been out? Haven't been out here on the street. Couple of years right now. Was that the only time that you've been out, or were you out on the street before that?
I was out on the streets. Where I was. What year is that? The song was like 3, so maybe 2016.
Wow.
We were like
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
And then I went inside and I was in there or something. And then
So total like 3 years, 4 years. That's a long time out here. You definitely could use a good night's sleep. I think we can make that happen.
we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
About a month ago, she's a manager of some of these
Copy.
apartments down here, and she said that she had them going for like $425 a month. Try to see if I can find.
712 to 740. Can I get you to take that call? We'll call the Flush Wire. I'm headed there now. Can I have you
Thanks, bro.
swing by Trailhead
There
first
you go.
for the latest call? It seems to be a
Found the
little bit
walker
more
with the.
purpose.
That's what I was
Oh,
talking about.
yay.
Kind of got a cute little pattern on it for you.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Oh, it's beautiful. Thank you.
Would that be more comfortable to sit on that one?
Oh, I will do it, but I'm fine with it.
Okay.
I thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Doing okay, honey?
So she's a little bit on
Is
the
it just
nod.
you're sleepy, or did you?
She's like, she's nodding off.
It looks like
She's
you're
pretty
already full.
used recently. And so we're just monitoring that situation, obviously. That's why
You've
it's
been
great
up
to
all
walk
night,
in and
huh?
walk to an EMT for, gosh, I don't know, 15, 20 years.
Yeah. Oh well, no, you did. Well, I'm glad you got it, because we're going to connect some dots for you today.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm glad you did. Yeah. She said she slept 20 minutes last night.
What's up, bro? It's good to see you, man. How you been? Welcome to the ride along. This is Jim Good.
Hey there.
We're gonna get you mic'd up. So you typically would meet in studio and do a little bit of a, podcast, talk a little bit.
Sure.
But we met Shantae yesterday, and she said she was wanting to get into a shelter. We were able to reconnect with her, and so we're getting her a shelter right now.
Awesome.
That's what we do, right? Awesome. So we're here on the streets, 2nd and Gleason, downtown Portland. They call it the area they call it Old Town or Chinatown. Jim Good just was able to meet us here. We had my cousin bring him from the studio. Jim, why don't you introduce yourself to the folks?
Hello there. My name is Jim Good. Currently working as a mental health crisis counselor training supervisor out in Hood River County in Wasco County and Sherman County, Oregon. And Alex invited me down, check out what he's doing downtown Portland here. So I'm just really excited to be here, and
It's awesome.
it's a pleasure to be here.
So you're kind of like a guru, right? I mean,
I try.
That's what I call him. And you basically just ride with law enforcement and help them de-escalate. I mean,
Do all kinds of things. So to give you an example, last night I got a call from the Dallas Police Department about 11:30 last night, and a gentleman who was highly intoxicated on alcohol, threatening to jump off his sister's second-story balcony. So went out there to help him de-escalate him. Took us about an hour to talk him into voluntarily getting transported to the hospital.
That's awesome,
So
man.
we got him up there and situated, and everyone's safe and sound, and
awesome.
checked that off as a win.
So he's doing what we're doing, but he's getting paid, and he's a professional, which is awesome. So we're going to be interested in his feedback today. Bach, why don't you come in?
Hey,
Hey there.
Yeah.
Michael.
Jim, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Jim. Yeah,
So Bach has a background as an EMT and also worked at Emmanuel.
I did.
And then so he kind of is. This is who we're going to ride with today.
Perfect.
We're doing a ride along with Bach. Has background in law enforcement as well. That's Spencer, background in law enforcement, and also did mental health work at Emmanuel. Terrence. So they run our nonprofit called Loving One Another, and so they're right now facilitating getting Shantae, who we ran into yesterday on a ride along, into a shelter space.
That's right.
So this is something we typically do. Last month we sheltered around 140 people.
Wow.
We get them into a shelter or detox or unity. We get them some type of service where they're better off than they were when we found them. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
So let's just jump in.
Sounds good.
All right, join the team. Cool. Hey Spence, this is my buddy Jim.
Hey Jim, how you doing?
Hey there.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.
What's any updates?
We're trying to get her into because she won't go to certain shelters.
Yeah.
She's
Assaulted.
Yeah. So we're trying to get her into a women's shelter. If not, we're gonna put her in a hotel for the night.
Okay.
And then tomorrow we for sure get her in. But we're gonna try to also get her permanent housing. I called somebody to join.
Oh,
a friend
good.
of mine, so
Okay, good.
she's gonna try to get her into some more permanent housing. So it shouldn't be that hard.
No.
So, but we're gonna take care of her. I'll make sure she gets inside tonight. So I'm just trying to find more resources here.
What's your time frame to hear back on the shelter option?
Hopefully the next 10, 15 minutes.
Okay, good. Nice.
So
If not,
I'm not gonna leave until I find out. So,
obviously, yeah.
so
Are you going to drive with her? Or are you going to use a radio cab? If you want to, if she goes
take
to a
her the
hotel?
I'll just take her.
Okay, all right.
I'll just take her.
Nice.
But it's just down there by Portland State.
Yeah.
That
Yep,
value.
yep.
Yeah.
So we have deals with hotels, and if we can't get them in a service that day, we just bridge them in a hotel. And I think you did that the other day. We were talking about that.
We do
yeah.
the same thing. Yep,
Yeah.
for sure.
Of course, you have a county budget or a city budget probably to pay for that, and we're just a nonprofit. But we're doing the best we can.
That's all we can do. Did you get to eat lunch at Blanche? Shante?
No.
You didn't? Are you hungry? What do you want?
I don't care. Anything.
What do you want?
Good. So we'd run, like I said, 10 blocks away. We would have a resource center, and then they'll probably end up taking her by there, get her new clothes, fresh clothing, shoes, everything she's going to need to feel comfortable and safe for that night, for tonight.
Nice.
So that way, when she's transitioning into shelter, she has all clean clothing.
Sit down right here.
It's huge, right? That's so good, so important for the mental health to have something clean and nice. Awesome. So she's giving personal information to housing and to the sheltering service. So we kind of wanted to step away. You know, we want to respect her HIPAA rights and all of her personal information. We don't want to give out her last name, right? We're here to help people, not shame them for being a drug addict or addicted to substances, right? And so as they're kind of handling that situation, I thought we'd pull Jim aside and kind of just go through his history, who he is. So I met Jim out in a different county where I was currently law enforcement, and I was a therapeutic foster parent. And so our paths would cross because you were also like a program director in mental health in that same county. And we became good friends. We would call each other, hang out, whatever, and just talk about all the horrible situations we're constantly finding ourselves in, right? Because it kind of in this job, emergency services, when you're dealing with stuff, you need someone in that lifestyle that you can bond with, that you can kind of do your after action and debriefs and decompress with. And so Jim's kind of been one of those guys for me, especially when I was going through a lot of critical incidents, right? He was one of the guys I would call and debrief with. And so we kind of bonded really, really quick, noticed that you were an extreme professional, and you ended up taking a job in another location, so we haven't been able to hang out for years.
Negative.
And so, just kind of tell us, like, number one, why did you choose the profession you're in? What led to that?
It's a good question. I think it started in third grade. We had a large playground that was cement, and I remember running out in third grade and seeing a motorcycle officer across the street pulling
cool.
people over in the school zone. I thought that was absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And I've always just loved motorcycles, so really I just want to be a motor officer, just from a really small age.
That's awesome.
So I was really attracted to law enforcement, and as things progressed, interested in probation, just wanted to get into that field. So over the last 6 years, I've been working as a mobile mental health crisis supervisor, a training supervisor. So I literally live and breathe this.
Oh, every
I mean,
day.
it's really a lifestyle. It's really
It is.
we're in a different world, and it's just
Completely different
awesome,
world.
and we get to see things that other people don't get to see. So it's really a privilege to see that side of life and to really help people in the front lines and in the trenches and like to get my hands dirty.
I love it.
That's why I'm here.
This is the work. This is the work to do that.
Absolutely.
And you were a reserve police officer for a while, so but you kind of determined that you really kind of like Bach, because Bach was also in law enforcement. You wanted to really focus on someone's mental health, and you know, and as police officers, you really carry a criminal mandate, and your job is to find crimes, and you're not really helping people transition into a better living situation. In fact, your main role is really you're seeking the long-term violation of their rights in a prison situation, right? And so you really shined when it came to mental health. Obviously, you're gifted in this area. Seeing the juxtaposition, like how difficult is it in law enforcement when you're going call to call to stop and de-escalate a situation and spend all that time with someone and to get them in resources? I mean, as a police officer, I know I had very little time to do that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, just to back up a little bit, I was a police explorer with Lake Oswego PD for about 5 years. And they basically had the best explorer post in the state at that point. They had a high reputation, so I joined that one. Every summer we compete in what's called Law Enforcement Challenge.
Oh, that's awesome.
About 350 kids would show up, explorer posts from all over the state. And throw it out there, I got second place in precision driving and third place in felony foot pursuit over competing with about 300 people.
That's
so
awesome.
Still have the trophies. I'm pretty proud of that. So yeah, my goal is to get into law enforcement, and then when I got into college, I went down a more academic path, and ended up getting a master's degree in social psychology and really like the learning aspect. So I went on my first ride along back in 1986 at a central precinct swing shift, and the entire time the officer tried to talk me out of getting into law enforcement.
Yeah.
So that was the first kind of like reality check of maybe this is not what I'm thinking it is.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm 100% pro law enforcement. I think it's one of the most challenging jobs in terms of managing your own mental health, physical health, relationships, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, luckily I have time as a mobile mental health crisis counselor that I can slow down, listen, you know, make time for people, and really change the mindset of, I want to build a relationship with you. Because ultimately, I think life's about spirituality and relationships.
It is.
And so any contact I have with anybody, it's the first start of the relationship, hopefully. And I'm going to take that as far as I can with the person allowing, you know, that boundary. So
I love it, man.
I feel like, you know, make contact with you. I'm there to support you for the rest of my life, rest of your life. And so I have a really fundamental value on that. So I don't work from like a superficial perspective. It's really deep as far as relationships and spirituality. And I want those connections, you know, forever.
Exactly, yeah.
And so it's not like, so in this situation, I'm helping one individual. I don't see it as like we're out here for 45 minutes, help this individual, and that's over. I don't see it that way.
No.
So this is like, hopefully I get to meet this person, start that relationship, and hopefully I get to see her again in the future, help her out.
In fact, she already kind of knew who we were. Yesterday we rolled up and I said, hey, you know, loving one another. She goes, oh yeah, I know y'all help people get into shelter. And then she came back to our vehicle as we were just about to drive away. She goes, I'm ready. Today's the day. I'm done. And it's because we had that relationship. You know, the team, the street crew over here with Loa, and then all of our guards are always constantly building that relationship. And without that relationship, no one's going to trust you.
Yeah. And in terms of safety, the current agency I work for, I put on a 2-day safety training. And for my money, the better relationship I have with you, the safer I am. The safer you are.
Yeah.
You know, if I have to give you really directive feedback and ask you to do this or that, you're way more likely to listen and not come at me if we have trust and we have a relationship.
I love it.
So we got 4 options we're working right now.
Okay, I love it.
So,
4 options.
4 options. We're working right to dream. And then there's another place out there, one of the safe rest villages.
Okay.
We're also working, what's it called, Starlight.
Okay, I haven't heard of them.
And one other one. So we're working the other one. I can take her today, and they'll triage her today, and she'll live in a communal area for like 30 days, and then she'll get into her own place. So we're just trying to figure out the best option. Oh, we're also working on a BIPOC village too.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice.
We got her some McDonald's coming, and I
good.
bought her a prepaid phone, so she has a phone.
Oh, that's legit.
So we have a deal with Fred Meyers that gives us a really good deal on prepaid phones. So.
That's good.
One of the hardest challenges we have, just 10 years ago, less than 2% of the population was female, right? And now, currently in Portland, almost 20% of the unhoused population are female. But the sheltering capacity for that female population never increased. And so there's always a gap. There's a shortage of beds available in shelters for women. And so it's extremely hard to get a shelter for a woman. Very difficult.
So typically folks need to show up at a certain time of the day, or,
Yeah.
or is it?
You have to call first thing in the morning at 9:30. You have to,
Yeah.
because by noon they'll all be full.
Yeah,
So-
3 o'clock, no way.
Yeah.
There's no way.
There's no way. 3 o'clock, it's just done.
And then weekends and nights, not
Forget
gonna
it.
happen. So that's where the hotel thing comes in, as you know.
Yep.
Gotta bridge with the hotel.
Yeah.
Critical. People always say there's a high level of resistance among the houseless population to want change. And I tell people all the time, well, yeah, if you randomly contact someone in the middle of the day and you say, hey, you want to change your life right now? They're gonna be like, no, I'm actually trying to find food. I haven't eaten in 24 hours. But if you contact them every day, every single day, 7 days a week, that they're likely to want change 2 times, right? And so that's why we're consistently out here. All of our officers, when they go on patrol, they have to carry a tote of resources with everything. They're always connected to the street team with Spencer and Terrence, who's out getting her resources. And so we're constantly contacting every single person.
Nice.
Hey man, how you doing? Jazzy, how you doing, bro? You need anything? You ready to change? You ready to get into a shelter? You want to detox? Every day having that conversation. Should we sit her down?
Starting to happen more and more. So
I mean, the ground's dirty, but
I know.
hey, Shanti, sweetie, hey, I keep getting worried about you falling over. Are you? Yeah. Okay, last thing I want is to have you get injured, okay? Okay. It's chronic pain. It's post-surgery. Yeah, so after the conversation we've had with her,
What was the surgery for?
I didn't hear that part. It's cross-surgery.
she's got fibromyalgia really bad.
Okay.
And she
Wow.
needs a knee surgery.
Needs a knee surgery.
Needs a knee
There we go.
surgery, yeah.
That was the part. I was having a hard time hearing her. I thought it was post-surgery. Hey, honey.
What's up?
How you guys doing? Good, good. Good to see you. Hope you have a wonderful day. Trying, honey.
Always.
I'm trying. She asked me about my wife, how she was doing post-surgery.
Oh, nice.
She's a real sweetheart.
Yeah.
She lives in yards.
She does.
Yeah. Well, hey, we'll check back in with you.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
give us
okay.
a call.
Yep.
All right. We're gonna roll out. We're gonna continue to ride along because there's 4,500 people chronically unhoused and in need in Portland. 1% of the population of Portland have been living unhoused for more than a year, and so we're gonna go out and make more contacts today and hopefully change a life, maybe build a relationship.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
do it.
Yeah, let's roll. Give us a call, bro. Awesome. So we're just leaving Shantae and Spencer. Again, this process is a long process. It can take 30 minutes, 3 hours. It can even take 48 hours. But we're going to at least get this resolved today. We've been working on it already for 24 hours. And we'll hopefully hook up with them later on in the day. Awesome. So we're currently patrolling around, looking for possibly anyone nodding off, maybe overdosing. I'm sure you've watched other episodes where we've literally went out and saved lives, performed emergency medical care. And so kind of looking for that right now, patrolling the district. Bob just received a call. Shanti, our contact from earlier this morning, and who we originally had contact with on a ride-along from a previous show or day. Spencer was able to get her into a shelter in a suburb called Beaverton. It's a suburb of the Portland area. And that area just happens to be very close to where her family lives, which is always great. When you're in recovery, having that family around you, that family system, it always greatly increases the odds of a successful recovery. So, and now we're back in Old Town. We're just patrolling.
Y'all want to go up around the corner past this tent? You probably didn't see him, but he's up there on the left.
Yeah, let's roll. So they already passed the no tent law.
I saw that in the news.
You
Hey,
can't
man.
tent.
You doing okay under there, bro? Get me worried about you for a second. Okay. You doing okay, my man? Okay, do you need a cigarette or anything? All right, I was just worried and checking on you, making sure you were breathing. Okay.
You good?
Yeah, I'm gonna go this way.
Do you know if there's anyone up on the roof right now, currently? Have you seen anyone on the fire escape? How long have you been here?
Sweetheart.
Yeah, we had a
My
couple
name's
people up there
Michael.
last
Can I
night.
talk to you?
The roof collapsed.
740.
Hey, now
I
you
work
good big time.
security,
Don't worry
honey.
about it. The other like 3/4 of this block,
You want a
the
cigarette?
roof collapsed. And so we've had multiple calls that people are on the
Here.
roof here partying at night.
Well, how can I help you? I was a little concerned because I heard a whole bunch of screaming. I figured I'd check, make sure you're good.
Dispatch to 740.
You
Hello.
What up?
good? Yeah. This is something I can help
What's
you
going
with.
on? What's going on for her? She's got a lot of mental health issues. No worries. We're just checking on her, make sure she's all right.
Call for the
Is the issue that you want to talk to your family or no? Okay. Where are your kids at? I might be able to help you get into a shelter if you're interested in that.
You okay? Do you want them here?
Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
So I think I hear me tell them this roof collapsed. And so this.
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds.
So
It
they
sounds
park
pretty rough.
cars inside, like 2/3 of this entire roof from that like
Can you move
gold
the thing
brick.
away so I can see you? I get a little bit
Fell-
better
fell in and, like, crushed all
relationship
the
with you
cars.
if I can talk to you. Thank you.
There's like 40
So
cars
I'm
in there.
happy to help you. I would just need to know
All-
like
it's
how
for-
I can
they
do
fix
so.
people-
Like if it's
so
a
there's an
number
auto
I can
shop
call, or
2
if I
blocks
can
that
make
way.
sure that they're
It's a
safe,
customer
or if you
cars.
know where they're at.
Random
I mean,
cars.
I'm happy to.
There's
I'm happy
nothing
to
in
help
them,
you to connect
but
the dots.
a lot of damage. Me? Well, I'm part of a nonprofit called Loving One Another. You know,
I mean,
Spence?
you know, I'm just security, honey, but I'm
Yeah.
here just to
We-
talk to
we
you.
basically help people get into shelter.
Hopefully, I can help you. I'm not
He's
police.
a security guard. We're rolling with him today.
I
We're
can't
shooting a
guarantee an hour,
documentary
but I
about
can
being
tell you I
homeless
can
in Florida.
try. Is that good enough? All right then.
Are you
Yeah.
interested in going to a shelter or a program?
One that's like do good, yeah. You know, where you got your own bed space. And
Yeah.
bunk beds,
Doing okay?
Do you know Spencer? How long have you been on the streets? In Old Town for a while?
Yeah. I think people are accessing the roof.
Okay.
I know the gangsters.
They're accessing the roof
Yeah.
through the stairwell.
So
and then
he
they-
can help
they
you
may
get
be
in. He
breaking
can help you
here as well.
transition. He does all of our transitions.
know.
I know there's a program called Victory Outreach.
Maybe hopping up, pulling it down.
They have
or
6
something.
beds. They're in Beaverton,
Yeah.
so it's a ways
Yeah,
out. It's in
yeah.
the suburbs. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. For
Yeah.
Columbia County or what? Multnomah County. Okay. All right. He's interested in a shelter, but he needs to stay in Multnomah County because he's on paper
Okay.
with the county.
Okay.
He's on probation. No, there's a ladder that goes all the way up there. See?
Yeah, I know. You can hop out and go all the way up.
Yeah.
I got a call from Andrew House. I got to go to.
Yes. Go.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
What's your name?
Are you going to be here for a bit?
What's your name? Nate, Alex. I'm gonna tell Spencer to come by and talk to you. Third in Flanders. Okay.
Okay.
So when I get my
I'll take
phone,
Mandarin first, and I'll get that one in a
he'll
second.
roll by. We'll check on that and see how we go. So just to recap, again, we popped out of the van real quick. It looked like someone might have been overdosing. Checked on him, he was good. Then we heard some yelling across the street, sounded like it might have been a physical altercation. It's right next to a building that yesterday morning, around 1:30 in the morning, the entire roof fell in, crushed a bunch of vehicles. And so we have already had a lot of activity in that area, so we went over there and checked it out. Sounds like she was just really angry with herself, kind of having a mental health episode. And so Bob kind of talked to us a little bit. Calmed down. We're on our way.
We've got a long-standing relationship with her that any 6th grade teacher would mark needs improvement on the report card. She's hard to work with, for sure. Awesome. often yelling racial slurs and threats at others, often very heightened. Today was no different. It appeared as though she was talking to herself.
What's the nature of the call?
It just says somebody's asleep at the front door blocking, essentially, but there's nobody here.
So they probably were just nodding off a little bit.
Maybe. Are you doing okay? Do you need anything? You're fine? Okay.
We got some water in the van, man. You doing water?
Thanks, man. I appreciate you being cool. Yeah. Are you getting all the food you need and all that? Okay. All right. If you ever want to, get into a shelter or anything like that, feel free to hit me up, man. I'm happy to help if you do, okay?
The current model is that field of dreams, if you build it, they will come. Everyone is just stuck in their office, man. Expecting all these people to just know where that office is, and they're just going to walk there and show up one day, and they're just going to be ready for change. And they're going to make all those decisions. They're going to know how to navigate that, have enough food and water to get there, know how to steal a shopping cart and get all their stuff packed just the right way,
No cigarette?
right? And it's like, who does it?
All right,
who
man.
has
Have a good
agency
day.
like that when you're on the street? No one does. That's not a thing. And so being able to contact folks on the street and help them where they are, that's the only thing that makes a difference. Like who's going to contact these people today?
Mandarin House call, and I'll be in
Who's
around
gonna
to
contact
Brandon Grove.
Because that lady, she's not walking to some random nonprofit or county building right now. So you know where they are. These people are in their days.
Yeah.
They're smoking fentanyl. They don't know where your office is. You know what I mean? Like,
I do.
And there's no judgment on them for that. They're addicted to substances. But when you're smoking fentanyl all day, and literally a white is 50 cents and a blue is $1, and the high you get today, you can get for $3 when it used to be 20 or 30.
Another call.
Like, these people have no agency. The drugs are robbing them of it. So we have to go on the street and talk to people every day. So we've been on patrol. Here with Jim Good, box in the back. And this is a hotter summer day, and usually that heat kind of tamps down a lot of the activity that would take place. Usually, in the day that's not so hot. And usually that means that you're going to get more activity in the later end of the swing shift or at night, because people are probably passed out sleeping. So there's just a lot less activity. So we're going to go ahead and hit up the studio. Typically we would have hit up the studio before we rolled out, but we kind of had a situation where we wanted to really meet this lady and get her into a shelter. We're going to go and park and meet you back in the studio. Hey, Alex Dome, back at the Ride Along. Our guest today is my good friend, Jim Good. Jim's kind of a guru in the de-escalation mental health field. He's been working alongside law enforcement for several years now, about 4 or 5 years. And, this is kind of a little bit of a different show. We started in the field. We had a situation that allowed us to get a lady into shelter, and she's been living on the streets for over 2 years. I think she spent a total of 16 years homeless on the streets of Portland. So we took that opportunity to just jump right in the field. Jim met us there. Jim, thanks for showing up today. I know it was kind of a choppy day going back and forth in and out of the field. Why don't you reintroduce yourself to the folks and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Well, first of all, I definitely want to thank you for inviting me, and have a lot of gratitude and respect for you. I'm just really glad to be here and be a part of what you're doing. I think it's
Awesome.
just really, truly amazing at every level. So
Thanks, brother.
I
Appreciate
feel
it.
like this is an honor to be a part of what you're doing, and just really happy to be here. My name is Jim Good. Coming up on about 30 years working in the mental health field. First 18 years was with juveniles. and families. Work with a lot of kids on probation, struggling behaviorally. So as far as mental health with kids, I've worked in every aspect from worked in a wilderness-based residential program in Arizona, to correctional facilities, outpatient clinics, you name it. I've done everything in the mental health field with kids.
In fact, that's kind of how we met. I was a therapeutic foster parent here in the state of Oregon, which would be the highest level of child care outside of acute or subacute care, kind of outside of that lockdown facility type of care for juveniles. And you were working at the mental health facility in my county, and we kind of became friends during that process.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you were fantastic then. I mean, you were killing it back then. You were known in the area as the most experienced person in the field, and learned a lot from you then. Obviously, I needed that. And so now, what are you doing now?
So, long story short, I had an opportunity I should back up a little bit. I grew up here in Portland, and started off in college down at Southern Oregon State, and then transitioned to a Northern Arizona University in Flagstaff, Arizona. Lived in Arizona for about 11 years. Ended up moving back here and getting back in the mental health field. But coming up on 8 years, I've lived out in Hood River.
Beautiful out there.
It's on the nicer side of things for sure. Great little community. Great for families, great for kids. So I started out there. Got an opportunity to work at an outpatient clinic, basically developing a community-based jail diversion program in Hood River County. So the agency is responsible for Wasco County, Sherman County. So at that point, they're expanding it to Hood River County.
So kind of a tri-county program.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
So the main person working in our jail diversion program at the time had Wasco County, the Dalles, pretty much dialed. They wanted to expand it west toward Hood River, so that's why I came on board. So I worked in jail diversion, community-based jail diversion for 2 years, and that, I literally went out and contacted every homeless person in Hood River, alongside a doctor out there.
This sounds very familiar.
Yeah. So, and over the last 6 years, I've worked on our mobile mental health crisis team. So we do mobile response with law enforcement. We get calls to emergency rooms, both in the Dalles and Hood River.
So law enforcement agent, let's say Oregon State Police, they're out on a call. They have someone that they believe might be, they're probably not drug-induced psychoses, but showing some type of psychoses, mental health issue. They could call you as a resource to help them with that call.
Absolutely. So law enforcement, over time, understands that if there's any inclination of a mental health disorder or someone struggling from a mental health perspective or diagnosis, or certainly if they're expressing any kind of SI or suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation, as a default, they'll tend to contact our agency.
That's phenomenal.
And we provide 24/7 services. So, I've had experiences where I get a call 3:30 in the morning.
So you're working the night shift.
Correct.
So you're having all the fun. Right?
I definitely make it a point to have fun every day I work.
Good.
After, so for instance, last winter we had a major blizzard. I get a call 3:30 in the morning. There's a gentleman who's suicidal, getting ready to jump off a 60-foot cliff over rocks in the river, which definitely would be fatal. Yeah. So I'm driving through a snowstorm on the freeway. There's a 1.5 foot of snow. Law enforcement's calling and said, "Where are you?" I'm going 15 miles an hour, so it's going to be a while. But we cover every type of call and every kind of condition.
So essentially, every call that you're on is a crisis call.
Correct.
Wow. And you're typically working hand in hand with law enforcement almost every day.
Correct.
Wow. So this is kind of a common theme that runs throughout the show. We talk about how law enforcement, through really no choice or fault of their own, the mantle of mental health kind of got thrusted upon law enforcement back in 1972. There was this very crucial Supreme Court decision, O'Connor v. Donaldson, kind of had a sunset clause. Essentially, it said, you can't keep someone locked up in care facilities against their will. This is a constitutional violation, right? And you haven't met the threshold to do that. So the simple way to say it is being mentally insane is not against the law, and therefore you cannot violate someone's rights long term.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And so this sunset clause, it came into effect essentially when Reagan was elected in 1980, and he takes the brunt of the blame for a lot of these state institutions having closed and the mentally ill being placed on the streets, right? But when this Supreme Court decision happened, there was no plan in place as to who's going to take care of the mentally ill now that there are no facilities, right? And almost every major contact that was occurring on the street level for those who are mentally ill, who no longer had the option to be in a mental institution because the funding went away and they closed. Almost every major contact began since the 80s to become a law enforcement contact, right? And so law enforcement really became that tip of the spear dealing with this mental health issue on the street level, even though they were never told they were going to be that, or we were never told. I throw myself in there. And, I would say it wasn't until the early 2000s that police departments really started waking up to the realization that nothing's going to change. The Supreme Court decision is going to stay the same. It's not going to be overruled. And that law enforcement is going to be stuck in the role of having to functionally deal with the mentally ill and also be in charge of the process of determining if that person is a danger to themselves or others. And then after that determination, making the decision of should I then legally violate their rights, put that civil hold, that mental health hold, right? In Oregon, it's called a police officer hold, POH, to POH that subject and then take them to a facility like Unity or Manual or some type of mental health facility, right? And so eventually in the future, there has to be some multidisciplinary team approach where we have almost on every call someone that has a master's, such as yourself, someone that's degreed and has the experience, years of experience of mental health, to be alongside those police officers every moment of the day. Do you foresee a time in the future where, you're no longer just, a crisis worker that they can call, but law enforcement will actually have these degrees? Law enforcement, kind of like the firehouse brought the medics in the 60s and 70s, that eventually that the law enforcement agencies will realize they need people with our level of skill set working with them alongside them every day. Do you foresee that in the future?
I think, Alex, the reality is, at least in the communities I work, police officers do way more social work than I do. They're going to call. Their call volumes
100%
is way more than us. So they do more de-escalation, more social work. They're more social workers than they are law enforcement.
100%.
So that's kind of interesting. And now as the state of Oregon is trying to implement more mental health response and bridge that gap, I'm actually taking more disturbance calls. I'm actually taking more law enforcement type calls.
Correct. Yeah. This is good. This is the trend. Yeah.
Which is interesting. So it's kind of the roles are kind of switching actually. So yeah.
So you're finding yourself on calls and you're like, wait, these are just people escalating because of a domestic. There's not a mental health component here.
Correct. There's always a mental health component, right? If somebody's escalated or there's
very true.
Someone's in crisis or the situation is concerning, by default we could define that as there's some kind of
it's acute.
Exactly.
It's a short term.
Exactly.
A temporary loss of regulatory mental state. Someone's dysregulated, right? And so they call their special weapon, Mr. Good, to kind of get them to de-escalate in such a way that some compromise, civil compromise and or arrest can be effected with low levels of force.
Yeah.
Right?
So historically, as you know, law enforcement's been under time pressure to clear calls, get back on the street
Constantly. Calls.
And
always.
There's good reasons for that in terms of safety, officer safety, community safety. You want officers available. So basically, 9 times out of 10, law enforcement will get to the situation first, not always. They'll call us, we'll come out, and as soon as things are, to a degree of safety where everyone's stable enough where they can depart and get back on the street, cover the other side of town or the community, then we have the time. I had a supervisor way back that told me, how do you spell love? You spell it T-I-M-E, time.
Yeah, 100%.
So we have the time to, sometimes we don't, things wax and wanes. We got to triage things as calls come in.
Definitely more time than the typical law enforcement officer.
But typically I can spend as much time that I need to develop the rapport, the relationship, and establishing that connection. That could be 3 hours of just talking, just listening to somebody.
That's amazing.
And that makes a huge difference than, hey, how's it going? Da-da-da-da-da. See you later. Good luck. And rolling out of there. That's not helpful.
So I've suggested, and I've actually talked to people, and not only in the state of Oregon, but other state legislatures, about the need to actually give the power of a psych hold or a police officer hold or a mental hold to fire rescue and EMTs, and have them come in as sworn officers with the mandate of being able to perform that action, or even mental health workers such as yourself.
Yeah, so in under Oregon law, in the counties that I work, I do have a legal authority to put someone on a mental health hold or a director's hold. There's different terms for it.
Yeah.
But I do have the legal authority under Oregon law to detain somebody. Actually, the law says that I could go hands-on and use force. Of course, we don't do that because of we don't have the tools to do that.
Yeah.
And for safety and whatnot, we have law enforcement do that. So typically, we're directing law enforcement. Hey, this person meets criteria for mental health hold.
It's kind of a director's hold.
Correct. So mental health hold, director's hold, just a couple different.
Yeah, you're just more important than it's such a good title to have, a director's hold.
So 9 times out of 10. We want somebody to be voluntary. We want someone to be cooperative to the process, because ultimately we're going to leave them at some point, and they're going to have to take over in managing themselves.
Yeah.
And if it's forced, nobody likes to be forced to do anything.
No.
So 9 times out of 10, we've got the time. Like I was talking to you earlier about talking a gentleman up to the emergency room last night.
That's right.
On a call. Took 45 minutes to an hour, but didn't have to go hands-on. Everybody's safe and sound. Made it to the emergency room, getting situated. So that's the first, kind of opens the door for services, longer-term services.
Yeah, on my side of the field, we called that talking them into the ambulance, right?
Yes.
If they self-commit to care, because anyone's allowed to reject medical care, right? Medical professionals can't, if you're incapacitated, they can perform medical care. But as soon as you're no longer incapacitated and you have agency, you can make your own decisions, you can reject that medical care.
Correct.
And so the trick is, how can you build rapport, and then while at the same time build agency within that individual to both see the need and make the correct decision to get medical care.
Correct.
And this is what you do.
Yeah. So
this is very difficult.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah,
And you're doing this every day, multiple times a day.
The call volume waxes and wanes, but yeah, living, breathing, breathing that kind of stuff.
It's really amazing, and I'm sure there's a lot of police officers watching this, a lot of people in this industry that are watching this, and this is one of the most difficult jobs that law enforcement has. I had a call one time. I had a lady. She went into a grocery store. Completely naked, which in Oregon is not really illegal as long as you're not trying to excite anybody. But she's on private property, so not in public, premise open to the public, and decides that I think she thought there was something going on, and she needed to cover her entire body in flour. So she broke open a flour sack and patted herself down in flour, and she then decided to walk out of the store. And so, in that type of situation, as a police officer, and I'm always down 4 or 5 calls, right? Always down calls. It's like, how much time and effort do I have at this moment? Is this person presenting a danger to themselves or others? Well, she's obviously not in her clear mental state, right? And I was CIT certified, so I should know all the things. At this time I was a QMHP because of my work in the military, so I'm a qualified mental health professional. So I have some years into a little bit of understanding here. I was a therapeutic foster parent, went through some amazing training, and I thought to myself, I had to let this lady walk away. I'm down 4 calls. I have a domestic across town.
That's a really good point. If I can kind of
yeah, please
jump in, because eventually, even if somebody's detained, and under Oregon law, if we move toward a court proceeding and file if we move towards what's called civil commitment, a person can be sentenced up to 6 years in a state hospital against their will. But no matter what the level is, eventually they're going to be back on their own.
Yeah.
Eventually it's going to be voluntary.
That's always the plan.
Yeah. Eventually they're going to be taking care of themselves again. So eventually you're going to be right back to kind of square one. So we don't want to force people to do things.
Yeah, you can't.
We want to encourage them and build that relationship, help change their lives, and give them goals, and et cetera, and starting with the foundation.
Wow. So kind of bringing that into the ride along today, you joined us on our first call, and the call was Shanti. Shanti, actually, we contacted her yesterday. We took out our rider yesterday was a gentleman named Mac McKnight. Great guy. He runs a training academy here in the area. He's former Green Beret, Special Forces. He's former law enforcement, and he's an attorney.
Sounds like a tough act for me to follow.
Yeah, right? Yeah, pretty squared away guy. And we had just walking down the street, mere contact. She happened to be hanging out on a street corner, and we said, "Hey, how are you doing? You needed some water? You need a drink? Yeah, sure, that'd be great." And she goes, "Who are y'all?" We said, "Oh, we know Echelon. We're loving one another." "Oh, I know who y'all are. Don't y'all getting people into shelters?" And we're like, "That's exactly what we do." So unfortunately, it was late in the day, and we told her we'll be able to help you to the next day, today. And you joined us, and so you kind of saw us, and I'm sure everyone's going to be able to see the videos as well. You saw how we were interacting with her. To give an update, since we've been in the studio, we were able to get Shanti over into a residential program, so a sheltering program, where she has her own room, so she's not in a common area. This was important because she was a victim of sexual abuse on the street. And it happens to be less than 5 minutes from 5-minute drive from where her children live. It's in a suburb area, so we took her out of that subculture that brings her back into drug use in downtown Portland. Got her like 30 minutes outside of Portland. Really nice facility, and we were also able to get her some clothing, and we bought her a cell phone, right? So that way she's able to contact her family, and keep open those channels of communication, right? So based on your understanding of what you do, and I'm looking at you because I consider you the professional here, how did that go? And if we were law enforcement, what would that have looked like if that call would have been in Hood River? What would that have looked like?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
I think I would kind of take a step back a little bit and and look at it in terms of a little bit of a bigger picture, and think about the perspective from passerbys, from community members. What do they see when we're out there? I'm guessing they're seeing this is a single event. There's a crisis going on. This is happening right now, and they don't see that this maybe is the 15th contact of developing so people can kind of get that wrong and not really understand what they're seeing is not necessarily the reality of the situation.
They don't understand that we're friends with this lady, that we know her and her story, and
correct.
Yeah, there's a level of rapport and respect.
And if in an unfortunate circumstance, if things get sideways and there has to be some kind of level of force or persuasion or whatnot, and you have community members or passersby seeing that, they're going to misinterpret. Like
this happens a lot.
You might have been working with her for every day for 3 months, tried everything, and it's you're concerned enough about her welfare, her safety, where you're going to have to push a little bit and get her into services.
At least push her to the point of agency where she makes a decision.
Exactly.
If she chooses to stay on the street, I respect it.
Yep.
But I want them to know they had the choice. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that, and that's funny because in that kind of continuum of persuasion or force, we always try to start in the softest, on the lower level. So I have kind of canned phrases that I've found that work well, and I'll say something like, "So hey Alex, I'm really concerned about you. I'm always going to do what I think's best for you, and what I think's best for you is for you to allow me to transport you to the emergency room, but you're an adult, you get to make the decision." And that's where we kind of start there.
I love that. You show care, concern, rapport, agency.
And give the response. Because ultimately, again, eventually the person's going to be back responsible for them.
Yeah.
We're taking care of them, and we're kind of, helping them get established services, and we're doing everything we can. But eventually they're going to be running the show again.
Yeah.
So we want to encourage that, hey, it's ultimately your responsibility. It's your responsibility. I'm here to help you, but ultimately I'm trying to pass the ball back, if that makes sense.
I love that. So, what we do is very similar on a daily basis, right? I mean, I'm here running companies. I got a tech company, I got a security company, I got all these things I'm doing, but like the type of work we're doing institutionally is very similar. I would say it's different in one regard. I mean, there's other just approaches and these things, but the significant difference is what you're doing is kind of that law enforcement model where you're constantly reacting to a crisis, right? What I'm doing is I have a team of 80 to 90 people that are constantly going out in the same neighborhoods every day, 24 hours a day, at night and the daytime, in neighborhoods, so security patrols, and we're contacting the same people every day. The same people every day. And so we're like, when we came across Shanti, she actually wasn't in crisis. She wasn't in crisis, which at that point allowed that regulated behavior. It actually added to the agency. So what I've noticed is sometimes crisis creates agency because they're just sick and tired. I'm done. I want out of here. But sometimes regulated behavior, not being high, right? Being connected to reality, being grounded, can lead to agency and good choices. And so in that regard, we really aren't responding to crisis. I mean, one could argue everything in downtown Portland is a crisis right now. But really, we're just kind of contacting everybody every day in that neighborly, friendly manner, handing out water and cigarettes and having conversations with folks. And they just casually come up to us like Shanti did and said, hey, I heard about y'all, and you know what? I'm ready. I actually would like to get into a shelter. And so for us, I think it's a little bit easier because there wasn't a lot of de-escalation that needed to occur. She already knew who we were. So even though we didn't have that direct rapport, we had that street cred on our favor, right? And she knew that she could trust us because we've transitioned probably over 1,000 people now. And so is there a point at which law enforcement can engage, law enforcement, emergency services as a whole, can take a multidisciplinary approach where they're out patrolling and engaging people like we are, rather than always responding in that reactive manner? Is that a possibility for emergency services in the future?
It is, in my experience and perspective, it's definitely moving that direction for sure.
Wow, that's really helpful.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's funny because I used to teach parent skills training for a long time, and I would sit down with the family, sit down with parents, and say, "There's two major roles of being a good parent: being the authority and being the supportive, loving person."
God,
supportive role.
So hard to manage.
So we're like, so you want to be the authority of rules, structures, expectations, consequences, and you want to be the loving parent where you spend time, give them love, affection, et cetera, et cetera. And the question becomes, which role do you play and when? So
and can both parents be on the same page at the same time?
Well, that's a whole different conversation. But
it's hard enough with a dog.
But in terms of, if we're responding to a crisis, it's too late.
It is.
Because I'm going to play the wrong role. When someone's in crisis, they don't need to hear that I'm an authority. And
I'm going to tell you what to do, and you're going to do it. No, you can't do that.
So for instance, when I'm not getting calls at work, maybe I'll drive to Safeway parking lot in Hood River and just park in the middle, have my lunch at 11 at night, 12 at night, and people will come up and start talking, and I know a lot of those people, the street folks.
Because you've been there.
Yeah.
You have
so I go
cred.
go make contact. If I'm not getting and do that proactive stuff.
That's amazing.
So we build a relationship. Because how are you going to build a relationship when you're in crisis? That's not a good time.
It's the worst time.
It's a good time when you're not in crisis.
Yeah, you don't trust anyone. Everything's messed up.
So basically, I use that. Told parents, do the opposite of what you feel like you should do. I want to be the authority figure because my kid's acting out. That's the wrong time to do that.
So
they need the love and the support. Yeah. So I always like catch my kids when they're behaving, doing well. That's when I'm like, okay, we need to have a family meeting. Sit down.
Lay down the rules when everyone's happy.
They agree. They're agreeable.
Like, you know what? That sounds very reasonable.
But if they're already acting out and I'm catching them, we're gonna get a power struggle. We're gonna crash and burn pretty quick.
So I mean, this just speaks to your level of mastery of social dynamics, right? I mean, the simple understanding of knowing when to be the person of authority versus the person that's supporting, and being able to read the behaviors. And not only of the individual, but the social dynamic behaviors of the room dynamic, and knowing when to push and pull, knowing when to play that role in that life, that authority or supportive role. And so that's what you're doing on the street every day. Is there a place where we can get law enforcement, not to stop, we still need law enforcement to arrest people, right? There's always going to be individuals who are going to violate rules and laws, and those people need to be separated from those of us who want to follow the rules because we want to be safe. We want our family members to be safe and our neighbors, our friends. So we need that role of law enforcement. But is there ever a place where we can get the staffing and the training at a level where law enforcement can go out and just engage in this activity?
I think we're quite a ways off from that.
Do you think people, and I hate to put you on the spot, but do you believe that there are people that are high up in leadership and law enforcement agencies that are thinking these things and having these conversations?
I would, if we could take a step back, I think it's simpler than that. I think we need, as human beings, we need motivation to get up in the morning, and we need gratification, and we need to be able to check the win box.
We do.
How was I successful today? And unfortunately, I think, typically, historically in law enforcement, success equals arrest, lodging someone in detention.
Correct.
Or jail.
Yeah.
And that was a win. Now, it's a different mindset for me. Like, I go out with the goal of I want to develop a relationship with whoever.
Exactly.
And I'm going to give it my best shot. And that person might scream and yell and jump up and down. That's fine. Because I tried my best, and that's a win. So I walk away with every situation a win.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's going to be a hard mindset shift.
It's a hard paradigm shift.
It really is.
And
but once you do that, and I did that, I had that internal shift at some point. It's way more. Life is way more rewarding.
100%.
And
yeah,
that's what it's about. Mm-hmm. It's about internal wins and the connection with relationships. It's not about how many arrests or it has nothing to do with statistics. Mm-hmm. This month I arrested 8 people, or I wrote X amount of citations or whatever. That's not what it's about. It's like, did I connect somebody where they actually shared something with me maybe they've never shared before? That's powerful.
Yeah. And you always get the approval of authority figures in law enforcement when you have the most tickets, the most arrests. They like that. And so it just reinforces that behavior. And that's not bad. Again, there are people out there who need tickets. There are people out there who drive intoxicated, and we need to keep the public safe. So we need these rules exist for reasons, right? I guess my next question as a follow-up is law enforcement, going back to that 1972 decision, right, that civil rights decision, law enforcement de facto became the individuals who had to deal with this. I think of the Parkland shooter, right? Had multiple contacts with law enforcement, but never got a mental health referral, even though he was displaying mental health issues, because law enforcement aren't really trained to do that. And again, the call volume problem. It's always the problem with the call volume. You could have another call in line where someone's literally being killed. You could have a domestic, and someone could die if you don't show up, and you have to take that call. My question is law enforcement the agency that should be doing this? Or should a third or fourth type of agency, so not fire and rescue, not EMTs, not medics, not law enforcement, but is there a new department of emergency services that needs to be created that is focused primarily on mental health, that has some quasi-police powers, some quasi-medical training, mental health training, EMT training? Is that where we need to go? Does this need to go into the firehouse? It
sure feels like that's the direction we're moving in, certainly in the state of Oregon.
Me too. That's what I think.
And absolutely, I agree with what you just said.
And I think
so.
I think
I've always been, Alex, I've always been 100% supportive of law enforcement. Being an explorer for 5 years, and I kind of have a good feel for how challenging that job is.
Very challenging, yeah.
And unfortunately, at least from my perspective, law enforcement is tasked with picking up the pieces.
It's an impossibility
of society's policies, and they pick up. They're tasked with fixing problems that they're not equipped to fix.
Yeah, constantly.
And so they're put into a lose-lose situation. From my perspective.
Almost every call is,
Yeah, so it's really a lose-lose paradigm, a lose-lose dynamic, not from the fault of law enforcement.
And this is why the default is, it was a successful shift if I go home alive today. Because they know you begin to feel like the only win you can have is going home alive. Because your calls, there are no wins. Do you really want to arrest that 21-year-old and charge them with a felony because they caused an injury to someone's face and it was the first fight they were ever in, and now this person's going to be a felon for the rest of their life? But you know that this person's probably a really good person. 30 years ago, they probably would have just been like Andy Griffith, taken to the jail. Mom and dad would have talked to each other, brought the local religious leader in. They would have had a town meeting, and figured out, no, we're going to forgive them, and maybe they'll come paint the house. Community justice, right? And so everything's becoming very, very codified. It's a codified justice.
And it's a process of consequences. I think we both know that once someone gets in the criminal justice system as a criminal, so to speak, it's nearly impossible to get out. You got that master stigma, that status. I mean, it's virtually impossible to crawl your way out of that. Even with the best intentions and motivations, you have that label, that stigma. Anytime you get stopped, they're going to run your license and see all your offenses, and it's just going to reinforce that perspective.
Yeah,
of one situation, of a behavior that maybe happened 10 years ago. That was a poor decision. I mean, I make poor decisions every day.
Yeah.
Luckily, not super bad decisions that cause consequences.
Texting on your phone.
Yeah.
You caused a vehicular death. I've seen it. I've been on those calls, handled those calls.
That one moment is going to ruin that person's life.
Yeah.
Just from nothing other than the social stigma.
Yep. And when you're a cop in a small town and you know the people you're arresting, and you know this isn't going to help them, it's a very tough profession. So maybe as a community we need to rethink how we're engaging mental health. Maybe law enforcement never was that tool.
Well, I think it goes back to exactly what you're doing, thinking in terms of community. Yeah. And, there's these sayings that sound silly, but, it takes a village, one step at a time. There's a lot of truth to that. Mm-hmm. It can't just be law enforcement, or it can't just be secure, whatever. It can't just be one agency to handle and help and change. So these are complex social issues and social problems. Yeah. And one agency is not going to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. It really takes the community. Mm-hmm. And so I think, what you guys are doing and being proactive and getting out there, being seen, getting everyone's attention, we're all working together. That's the spirit of that's what's going to change things over time. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I love it, and I appreciate that compliment. We started our programs with the intent that nothing was getting done, at least not to the level that could affect real change. And we thought, why not try? That was really the other owner and I. We were like, why not try? Why not? Like we had to ask ourselves, can we really get security guards that are on duty to do outreach to the houseless? Mm. I mean, can you really ask a security guard to do that? And we were like, yeah, let's do it. And we found out our security guards were like, we love this. We feel enriched by our profession and by our job. We feel more pride in our job now, because we're no longer looked at as wannabe cops, because we're no longer trying to pretend to be law enforcement. Mm-hmm. We're doing humanitarian aid work in an urban refugee crisis. And we're not doing it in a reactive way. We're doing it proactively by building substantive relationships every day that bridge to sheltering and resources. And it's enriched me as an owner. I feel honored to be doing this, and I just hope that through this podcast, through having people in, like yourself, professionals in the field, that people will see this model and think we can replicate this model.
Well, people obviously want instant gratification. We want to fix the problem, boom, and that's not realistic. But coming up on 30 years of being a counselor therapist, I really fundamentally believe that it's the little things that matter. Mm-hmm. So think about what's occurred so far today, the contacts we've made, and the several people we talked to. They're going to remember that.
Oh yeah.
They're going to remember that interaction for a couple minutes.
Nate on the corner.
Someone acknowledged me. I recently read an article that was suggesting someone with serious persistent mental illness, they're invisible.
Yeah, that's right.
And I try to envision myself in that perspective. Like if I'm walking down the street and everybody a block or so away sees me and crosses the street because they don't want.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Not be recognized. So it's that little bit of contact. Hey, how's it going? That 2-minute chat. It makes a huge difference. It really, really does. There's no doubt in my mind. They're gonna remember that. The next time you have contact, they remember. Hey, this guy checked in. He cares.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get that message. Your heart's in the right place.
That's
you
awesome.
care about them as human beings.
And we did.
And over time, things are gonna work out. Absolutely.
That's awesome. I love your positivity. That's great. So again, you know, we've been in the studio for a while. I want people to know who you are. I know you're kind of working for the public right now, so they can't like look at your website. Or is there any training that you're providing? Is there anything that if someone's interested in getting involved in this, can they find you in any way? Are you on LinkedIn?
I am not. I'm just working at outpatient clinic out in Hood River.
Okay.
So I get enough on my plate.
Yeah. You are in the middle of writing a book. That book will hopefully be.
Yes.
It will be out in 2024.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Okay. And that's not to say that you're going to be branching out and starting your own thing. I don't want people back at in the other side of the mountain, right? To be worried about that. But I think that you are a great resource. I know you are, because if people in law enforcement are calling you in the middle of a crisis that could lead to death, and they think the one person I need to call is Jim Good, I mean, and you have dozens of law enforcement agents doing that every night. I mean, you're more of a resource than I ever had. I would have been calling you every day for sure. And so I want to thank you for coming in. Jim Good, he's professional. He's on the street. He's coming in. I'm hoping that you're going to be a regular on the show. I'd like to bring you in and maybe even do some training and stuff with the folks. Thanks for watching the ride along today. If you want to know more about us, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on all of our social media. We love to have you. If you are a rider, if you're in law enforcement, if you're in a program, you're interested in being a rider on the ride along, contact us. We'd love to have you on.